Would you be impressed if the RTX 4090 is twice as fast as the 3090 but consumes 600 watts like the leak suggests? Where do you draw the line between power and performance? And the second related question is there a reason why we're moving towards such power-hungry CPUs and GPUs? Do the manufacturers not care about power efficiency in desktop parts anymore, or are we in a point where it is necessary for parts to chug down power? And then again gives the example of 40 series GPUs potentially consuming 600 watts. So yeah, this whole...
few things to delve into there.
Yeah, this whole power consumption thing is really blowing up at the moment. Maybe like some gigabyte power supplies in terms of how... the next generation of parts, sort of the thinking of them being super power hungry. And we were just talking about this recently on the live stream that we did for our Patreon members. And I think we both think that it gets overblown pretty quickly when the talk of power consumption comes up. It would be a pretty significant issue if the mid-range products like let's say a 4060 or 4050 was suddenly 600 watt, 500 watt parts. But there's no indication that that's the case. We're only talking about the flagship Halo products where performance is going to be the highest, sort of like your 3090 Ti, like what we just saw.
It's kind of like rewind a bit to, let's say we're back at Turing, and the rumors suggest that the next generation Ampere cards, they're going to suck down 450, some models 500 watts. That's crazy, like, out of control. And that's like, that did turn out to be the case, but it's for a Halo product, as Tim said, but it's a product that's going to sell in such low volumes that it's how relevant is it to representing Ampere, whereas most of the Ampere GPUs were 200, 250, 300 watts. So half 600 watts, but a lot less than the 450, 500 watts that the Halo product consumes. So for the 600 watt, we're talking about a 3090 Ti class product. And I think that leads into answering the question of why. And the reason is that NVIDIA has realized they can make stupid, out-of-control products, charge boatloads of money for them, and people will buy them simply because they're the best of the best. They don't need to be that practical. Like, they're not concerned about whether someone has a 1,000-watt power supply and sufficient case cooling and all that kind of stuff. It's like, it's for people who buy the best of the best. So they have the best case with great airflow. They've got a 1,000-plus watt power supply because they can, and they want a stupid GPU to justify all of that, even if it's only 10% faster, and they have to pay 100% more for it.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've even seen this with the 12th gen CPUs, where a bit of that line was kind of, the perception was altered by the fact that 12900K was so power hungry, but then you go down to a Core i5 part, and it was actually pretty efficient.
Even the Core i7.
Yeah, so compared to AMD's parts, they look pretty good. Whereas you compare at the top end, and it's like, whoa, that Core i9's using a lot of power. So I think a lot of the expectations when it comes to power for these next-gen parts really needs to be tempered as to, are you talking just about the stupid Halo products that don't make a lot of sense, are really for the whale buyers that are going to suck up all those sorts of products? Or, are there actually issues for the mainstream mid-range products in the sort of, the $600 and lower price tiers? And so really what we're looking for is the efficiency, the performance per watt of the part. So it would be bad if the next generation lines from AMD and NVIDIA had no improvements to performance per watt. If we were sitting here and to get the significant performance gains, power has gone up heaps. But if we're sitting there and performance per watt has increased substantially, then it's not an issue. Like if you're getting a 200 watt GPU and it's now 50, 60% faster than what we got last generation, that's a really significant step forward, even if that top end card is consuming 600 watts because NVIDIA's just gone, let's make a 600 watt GPU.
Basically, NVIDIA's worked out people will pay extreme prices for extreme hardware, and there's a lot more people are willing to do that now than maybe there was 5-10 years ago.
In previous generations that were like 500, 600 watt cards because they put two 300 watt GPUs or two 250 watt GPUs on a single board. And this next generation is just a continuation of that. Dual GPU graphics cards are not effective anymore. Like they weren't great for scaling. The benefit of the second GPU was poor. And now SLI and Crossfire aren't really a thing. And now we're sort of, we've had this dip where we went from dual GPUs to single GPUs. And then now we're just going back the other side with potentially multi-die or just really large single-die GPUs. So it's not like this is the first time that we'll be seeing these expensive power hungry GPUs.
Yeah, we don't know that they'll reach 600 watt. Previously, I would have thought just doesn't seem practical or feasible. But having seen the 450 watt models, how well they perform, as in terms of cooling and acoustics, quite surprised how cool they run and how quiet they are. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think...
I mean, they're massive.
I think as well previously, a lot of GPU designs were... Part of the design process was thinking about people using 2 GPUs in the one system. So a lot of the top tier designs, they didn't want to go to like 3 slots or 4 slots because they thought, oh, well, if someone puts a second one of these in and uses SLI, you can't make it 4 slots because no motherboard's going to accept that.
Yep.
Whereas today, like 4 slot GPU coolers, as ridiculous as it sounds, most people have the space in their case to accommodate that, even if it ends up blocking a whole bunch of PCI slots. Like, you're not using those slots.
Most people aren't.
Most people aren't. So I guess companies think they can get away with this. And then even further to that, we've seen liquid-cooled GPU options before, even first-party ones, like AMD's done liquid-cooled editions a couple of times. So there's all sorts of things that they can do to mitigate these powerful GPUs. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how it goes.